Here's an AMI This Week shortcut with Chris Vallée.
Rob Meredith is a community volunteer who has been recognized for his commitment to service.
Professionally, I'm a financial planner and work with RBC, and in my spare time, and what I try to do more than anything is two different passions. One is for doing kind of crazy stuff and different adventures, and the other is for supporting the disabled community. So that's really where I spend a lot of my time.
Rob has been volunteering with the Able2 Matching program for over 10 years.
This is an organization that's near and dear to my heart. I always sort of qualify it as probably the biggest gift I've ever been given, which is the ability to form what I think is really a life-changing series of relationships for me. My wife, who we were dating at the time, I kind of put it out to her because she was a sort of a personal support worker in the developmental services community, and I said, fire some ideas my way. And so she presented a few different organizations, and when I ran into Able2 and their matching program, she said, well, listen, this is a situation where you really just need to have a relationship and become a friend with somebody. I said, check that box, I can do that.
Through Able2's matching program, Rob built a friendship with two buddies that lasted for over 10 years, Fred and Ted. Their friendships meant a lot to him and his family, especially with Ted.
Almost without fail, we would get together once a week, and Ted was part of my life and he was part of my family's life. So, was there for every birth of my kids, was one of the first people to hold them, was at my wedding. Every dog we ever had, Ted got to know very well, but, weekend barbecues, going bowling together, we were fast friends. What I always loved about Ted is you could never walk away from that situation of interacting with him without a smile on your face. No matter what you talked about, he was a selfless individual. He always had what I would call old man advice, and I loved it. It was always from a place of care. He always wanted what was best for you, and he would just ask you about your day and how you were doing. So there's very few people I think are really selfless individuals, but Teddy absolutely was. So that was a gift he would give me each and every time I'd connect with Ted.
In Ted's final days, their friendship was front and center in Rob's mind.
I remember sitting there and making a commitment to Ted to say, I'm going to come see you every single day. This is a commitment from me to you. You've been a lifelong friend for me. And Ted didn't have a whole lot of people in his corner who had the ability to see him regularly. And I wanted him to know that he was cared for and that he was loved. And that my family cared about him pretty deeply. So that was every single day. We'd hold hands, in the hospital. He sometimes wouldn't feel like talking, and just due to what he was dealing with. And so I just give him a hug. We'd hold hands. We'd talk about stuff.
Rob continues to volunteer through the Able2 Matching program, and he can't wait to be able to get together with Fred.
Ted and Fred were roommates and have been friends since, I think their teenage years. And the neat part about all that was, despite the fact that they've known each other for so long and lived together for so long, they're both on sort of separate waiting lists with Able2 to be matched with an individual. Well, the reality was we'd go over to their house and I was hanging out with both of them anyway, so Fred was just as much a part of my life as Ted was. So Fred and I became fast friends, and I finally turned to him one day and I said, Fred, we've been hanging out together for like 4 or 5 years. Do you want to formalize this? And he said, yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
Fred, who was Ted's roommate, misses his friend dearly.
It was pretty hard about Ted passes away in the last month. And it's very hard for all of us too. And Rob is very sad to see him go too. And it's a little emotional at times. And right now, but he's in heaven smiling.
In memory of Ted, Rob will be participating in the Ottawa Race Weekend, an annual event in Ottawa to raise charitable funds for organizations like Able2. He previously ran the race with Ted.
Ted has lived such an understated life where people who knew him absolutely appreciated him. But again, he was somebody who kind of maybe flew under the radar. And I always wanted to make sure that everybody knew Ted's name. And it was really important for me that what he stood for stood up over time. And that's what we really tried to do. So that's kind of the foray to this idea, was to say, all right, well, you've done a half marathon. You've never run a marathon before. Let's put another kind of crazy thing up on the map, and let's run it for Ted.
To learn how you can make a match and build friendships with members of the disability community in Ottawa, visit able2.org. That's able with the number 2.org.